All right, now, let's see. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Let me put some Palo Santo real quick, light this up, get the vibes right. Some Palo Santo real quick, because, you know, we need some Palo Santo in the house. See who steps in. Let's see who steps into the room today. See who steps in the room. Palo Santo. Got some Florida water. We need some Florida water because today's energy is funny. Put some Florida water on me real quick. Get that nice Florida water. Get the spirits right. Reminds me of my grandmother. So good evening. Shout out to I Am Nugget Smalls. I saw somebody showed up into the space. So this live starts at 7, and I'm just waiting for people to join, and I'm waiting for my guest to also join, so then I can add her. So I'm just going to begin. My name is Antonio Morales. I am the founder of the Liberated Self Therapeutic Services, LLC. And I like to read the mission of my statement. I like to read my mission statement all the time, every single time I introduce it. So my mission statement is to disrupt and dismantle the psychological chaos and confusion of white supremacy, facilitating a transformative process that will allow Black and brown folk to heal from and transcend the adverse impact of white supremacy in all areas of their lives, or our lives. And not only is that my mission statement for my private practice, but it's also my commitment. And so they go hand in hand. They're not really separate. It's just mission for the private practice, commitment for me. Today's live is, we're on episode number, what number is this? Episode 6 of Unpacking White Supremacy in the Mental Health Field. And obviously the intention is to bring awareness to how white supremacy impacts the mental health field, and to speak to our comrades or colleagues, other mental health professionals about their experiences with white supremacy in the mental health field. What they've witnessed, what they've seen, you know, is always really important to speak to the people who are on the inside, especially when you're thinking about Black and brown clinicians and black and brown mental health professionals and mental health practitioners. So it's so important that we hear from the people who are in the field, so that it's not like hearsay, it's more like firsthand experience. And so that's why we have these guests that we do have. This is, again, episode 6 of this IG Live series. And it's connected to the Freedom Fighters of the Minds Initiative, which is an initiative that is a supportive space for Black and brown therapists, where we come together once a month and we talk about some of the challenges that we're dealing with in the mental health field and how that links back to white supremacy. And so there's a crew of us who meets once a month, to actually talk about these things in a private meeting so we can find a way to support each other. So I'm just going to go right into briefly introducing my first guest. And my first guest is, well, my only guest today, because it's not my first guest, but my only guest for today. I don't want to mess up your name, Vanessa, but I'm going to try my best to say it right. Vanessa Benzan-Monteiro. So I'm saying it in Spanish and a little bit like Brooklyn, but I don't know if I said the last name right. Please correct me when you introduce yourself, when I add you into the live. And she's the LICSW. And how I actually found out about Vanessa was through her initiative on Instagram and outside of Instagram, of course. But I sort of engaged with her through Instagram with her Gather and Heal practice or initiative, which she can say more about when she joins us. And I thought, whoa, this is pretty dope, right? Like, it's for, as far as what I know about it, is for black and brown women. And so I thought that was super dope. And I watched some of her lives and I was like, yo, she has a dope vibe. So I would like to invite her into this conversation. And so I reached out to her and I said, hey, you don't know me. I'm pretty new around around town when it comes to private practice. And I invited Vanessa onto this IG live because I wanted to get her perspective to see what she thinks about white supremacy in the mental health field. Vanessa, I see that you're there. I see that you gave me the little laugh emoji, so I feel like I messed up your name. So I want to give shout outs to people who are in the space because I like to do that, and I know people like me to do that. I need glasses, I think, so I can't really see. So I see KB Crypto 247. I think the SPC3, shout out to you. Melanated Social Work, shout out to y'all. Yvonne, shout out to you, Yvonne. Yvonne, I think you're next week. Who else we have here? Okay, all right. So, Vanessa, I don't know how to invite you. So if you want to find a way to join so that we can get this party started, I would appreciate that. I'm not an Instagram expert yet. All right, here we. Okay, I see you, Vanessa. There you go.
What's up?
What up? What's poppin'?
Happy Social Work Month.
How's everything going with you today?
It's good. Things are really, really good. And my laughing face was the fact that you said my last name with a little bit of Spanish and a little bit of Brooklyn.
I was like, I've been practicing your name for a few days. I didn't want to F it up. So I was like, I'm going to mess it up anyway. So let me just try. And so how do I say it? Because I feel like I messed up the whole vibe.
Nah, it's all good. So if we say it in Spanish, Vanessa Benzan-Monteiro.
Ave Maria. Yo, let me put some more Florida water because that got me stressed out. No. Because I wanted to feel the vibe. I'm feeling the vibes. Like, listen, it feels like spring, right? The weather was amazing. I was in my backyard, getting the trees ready, chopping down some branches that not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And so, I'm really glad that you're here today. I always appreciate your vibe from Instagram because that's how I know you. And I just really dig your vibe. And before I actually have you sort of introduce yourself, I want to do an icebreaker. But before we do the icebreaker, I really, really, really want to know about your mugs because I was checking your mugs out and those mugs are dope, yo. Yes.
There you are.
I never saw a mug. You know how people make mugs for their companies and stuff? I never saw a mug that you can sell in a store from a company. That's how fly your mugs are. So I have to big you up for your mugs. They fly.
Thank you.
Can you show it again? And where can we find those mugs? I love those mugs.
So that's our company, Gather and Heal. And then this mug is our lock queen. And we have different queens, right? So my shirt, don't know if y'all can see it. You know, Instagram be hating and blocking things. But my shirt, that's
Okay.
our fade queen.
Okay.
You know, we got a few queens. We got to switch it up. Everybody likes
No, that's fly. That's
different
so fly.
vibes.
Like I can see, like I just because I was looking at the mugs because you had placed them on Instagram, but I saw like there was various types of mugs. I mean, as far as like different women on it,
Yes.
and I was like, yo, this could be like a clothing line or something because I think the art really makes it pop, right, as well as the colors.
Yes.
And so I was really like I was surprised because I usually see people with their merchandise and you know it's cool, but like I never saw it like that. You know what I'm saying? And so big up to you for that. I think that's pretty dope that you're doing that.
You know, I got to loop in the homies, right? So my events and communications manager, Jennifer, she's the one who found the gold and was just like, yo, this is us. And then the logos are our logo and all of our queens were created by her partner at Noir Canvas. Y'all can look him up. He's got some dope artwork. So, you know,
plug that thing in there.
Say it again.
Plug it in if you have to.
You know it. I'll drop it in there, Noir Canvas. But you know, because like for me, Gather and Heal, everything is co-created, right? Like I'm not the only person, I'm not the only one with the ideas. It's like, come on, let's all pull through with our different skills and techniques. But I'll pause there because I know we got an icebreaker.
Yes. So thank you again for joining us tonight. This is our 6th episode. I was sort of explaining the gist of the point of this, the intention of this, which I always explain as I begin anyway. And so every single time a new guest comes on, I like to sort of ask them about where they come from, where their peoples come from, right? Because I think a lot of times we forget where we come from, like at least we don't acknowledge it in the moment. And so I always want to sort of celebrate the ancestors and our elders. And so to have you share with us where your people come from and what positive characteristics or attributes that you inherited from them and how does that show up in your life today?
Oh, that's a good one.
Right? I was thinking the same thing.
I like it. All right, here we go. So I am biracial. My mother's Italian and my father is Dominican. And I am very much more connected to my Dominican side, so I'm going to speak more so from there. And we are just such a beautiful, diverse people, and no lie, it's the music. The music gets me every time. Doesn't matter if I'm cleaning, if I'm in the shower, if I'm getting ready for work. It's there. It gets me moving.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I also like to honor the land that I'm on.
Mm-hmm.
It's been colonized as Tampa, Florida, but the specific neighborhood and land that I'm on is Seminole and Togobaga land. So I appreciate all of the indigenous people and all of the people who have passed through this land before I arrived here.
Nice, beautiful. So when you think about like the rhythm, because it sounds like you're really into the rhythm, right? So what about that sort of moves you? Is I know we like to clean and we like to like mop and do what we have to do around the house and cook and have some stuff playing in the background. But what for that sort of speaks to you? What about that speaks to you?
Yeah, so I'm gonna take you through a little bit of an evolution, right? So I've always loved bachata and merengue and salsa, right? And I've always found myself moving to them and like my upper body, right? But as I've gotten older, I've been tapping in and listening a lot more to the different drums, right? And thinking about how it connects us back to our African ancestors and really diving into that piece there. And now I'm finding, you know, the hip swaying and I wish we were from that, like, right? But like, and how healing that is, right? So a huge part of my approach and, you know, how I continue to decolonize mental health is that I'm well aware that all the work that we do can't just be done from our brains and just talking. Our bodies hold on to so much. I mean, I had a session with a client a few weeks ago. I was like, everything's virtual, but I was like, you know what? Let's stand up. So she stood up, I stood up, and we were just moving and swaying while we were still talking. But our bodies hold, and we know this, right? Like our bodies have stories. They've got
Yeah.
experiences. They've got details that our brains don't remember.
That's right.
And I feel
That's
like
right.
that's what I tap into when I hear our music and I'm dancing,
That's right.
and I got the drums.
Yes. Yes, that's so beautiful. Like I was just talking to somebody the other day about why I love salsa music. And I love to dance salsa music, but it's really the drum that moves me, right? It's always I'm listening for that drum in the background, right? I don't care what instruments are playing everywhere else. I don't care who's singing, but you can hit that conga in the background that really like that's the spirit. And I always think of the drum like the heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? The same thing with hip hop music, the same thing with salsa music. For me, it's the same thing because it's that drum that you're hearing in the background that's like the heartbeat, right? And how everything is the rhythm, right? It's like boom, 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 boom. But that's the heartbeat, and I love the vibration of the drum, and I just feel like it speaks to my spirit. So I really can relate to your experience with the music that you love as well. So thank you for sharing that. It's pretty important because I think sometimes we when we in the crib, you know what I'm saying, or we with our family, or we on a in a house party, or we on the block, we might take that music for granted when it's like playing everywhere, right? But
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
yeah, yes. So thank you for that. So now I want you to formally introduce yourself. Tell us, what your title is. What is it that you do? Where is it that you work? And how long you've been in the mental health profession? And the last question inside of that is, what inspired you to get into the mental health profession?
Okay. I'm gonna work backwards. I like chronological order. So I graduated from college with my bachelor's in Spanish and a minor in management and sociology. And, I found myself I went right into retail management because I had been doing that. And y'all, that just that wasn't it. That was not a jam. I really just felt like, people are ungrateful. Look at this mess. They had on la ropa, they left the clothes everywhere, and I'm just like, this isn't it. Like it wasn't feeling and speaking to my soul, right? And so I took a step back and I was like, all right, what does speak to my soul? In your early 20s, mind you, it's like, I have no idea. But I always knew. I did a lot of volunteer work in high school, and I knew that coming through for other people in many different ways always spoke to my soul, and it made my spirit dance, right? And I loved it. And then I started going down a rabbit hole of like, okay, what can I do? Up until that point, I didn't know what social workers were. Okay? No idea.
I thought social workers were bad because I used to go to face with my mother, and it was always a social worker, and I didn't even know if they really were social workers, but they really were mean people, and I never liked social work because of that experience, and I don't even think they were actual social workers. But I didn't mean to I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I thought I had to add that in there because when people say social work, I go back to like face to face.
Yep, I hear that. I definitely hear that, and I mean, as well as I do, the huge stigma that's attached to being a social worker. But anyways, we'll bring us back in. So I ended up applying, and I got into a master's social work program at Simmons College. And as I was in the classrooms and as I was learning, I was like, ooh, I really like this. This really speaks to me. To me, I was like, duh, this makes logical sense.
Right.
Why do I have to pay so much money for a degree for this? But okay, I'll continue.
Yeah.
And so I actually ended up finishing my degree at Arizona State University.
Okay.
Partway through, my partner at the time, we picked up a map and we were like, where you want to go? Where you want to go? Right? And so we went to Arizona because Arizona State University took the most credits from Simmons for me. So, there was some logic behind it.
Right.
And, what, aside from the fact that it wasn't fulfilling being a manager, a retail manager, it was also really thinking about looking around my neighborhood where I grew up and knowing and seeing so many of the young people who were my age at that time, but who didn't make it through high school, who didn't make it to college. Or if I was coming home to college on the weekends, they were still the same people chilling on the stoop and, you know, outside and so on and so forth. And so I was like, what? Like, how did this happen? What happened in our lives? And we grew up in the same area, but we have two very different experiences.
Right.
So that's what drove me. And I said, we got to do something about this. This is not okay. We all deserve opportunities and to do the things that make our souls happy and make our spirits dance.
Yes.
So I've been in the field now for over 10 years. And officially, I have two companies. So the first one is Sustaining Hope and Wellness. I founded that back in 2016. And after a journey, this ties into our decolonizing mental health. After a journey of starting a couple of new jobs when I moved to Georgia and not feeling centered, not feeling aligned with how those companies were being run clinically or ethically. Right. And so I was like, now we're not attaching my license to this. I worked really hard and it was really expensive and this is just not okay. So I went off, I did my own thing. And so that first company, Sustaining Hope and Wellness, is still out here thriving. We have interns, and it's really important to me to provide support to Black and Brown interns.
Yes.
So they got a supervisor who looks like them. And I say to them in the interview, I'm like, listen, y'all gonna learn some stuff in the textbooks. Learn it, because you need it to pass the exam. And I'm gonna twist it a little bit, and I'm gonna challenge you to really open up our lens and say, how does this apply to the population that we work with? So that's very, very important to me, making sure that I'm looking out not just for our clients, but also for future clients and future MSWs and social workers in the field.
Right.
So that's my first company. My second company, Gather and Heal, which I am on our Instagram. Y'all go ahead and hit that follow.
Shout out to Gather and Heal.
So Gather and Heal came out of the pandemic. And there were a lot of Black and Brown women of the diaspora reaching out to me and wanting individual therapy. And I was like, y'all, I'm maxed out. Right? And I didn't like that feeling of having this wait list. I didn't like the feeling of all of the social workers that I trust and know personally. I can't refer to them because they're all maxed out too. And so I was like, something's got to give, y'all. And fast forward a little bit, instead of making a mental health group, I pivoted and I said, we're going to make this a membership community. We are going to come back and remind ourselves that just because you're going and you're meeting with a therapist, that does not by any means make them the expert. You are the expert in your life. You have the key. All I do is hold this space for us, this collective energy. And I was like, well, wait a minute. If that's the case, then we can all come together, which is our slogan. We heal in community, we heal together. And we can learn from
I love that. I love that, by the way.
Thank you.
I love it. Like, I really do. Yeah, I'm digging it.
Because it's true, right? And
it's very true.
Takes us back to our people.
That's right.
They weren't out here trying to figure shit out on their own.
That's right.
They connected with their community.
That's
right.
They
raised children in community. All of it. So that's Gather and Heal, right? We're specifically for Black and Brown women of the diaspora membership community. We love to hold panels and pull in other professionals. We have conversations about all the taboo things, sex, money, navigating holidays with family, our mental health. And because it's created by myself and I have this social work lens, this clinical lens, it doesn't matter what you talk to me about. We're going to connect it back to your mental and emotional wellness.
That's right.
Right? Like
it's all connected. It's all connected.
Because it is. It really, really is. And the more that we try to pretend like it's not connected and we're like, nah, that's all the way over there. That's not how it goes. The more disconnected from ourselves, like our true, deep, authentic selves we are. And that's the part where I'm like, no, we can't keep flowing through earth side in these human bodies that we have. We can't keep doing it that way. Let's come together. I don't have to mess up 50 times to learn my lesson.
That's right.
We can talk. We can chop it up, and you'd be like, "Yo, Vanessa, I already did it like that. That's not the wave, girl. Don't do it." I'm like, "All right, I trust you, right? We here together and doing this." So yeah, just trying to hold a trusting space where we can grow as individuals and heal together, and not feel like I got to do this by myself, especially during the pandemic.
It feels so, it just feels so dope because it feels so like authentic to who we are as people, right? Like when you think about indigenous, black African and American indigenous people, when you think about where we come from the village, right? And so when I think about what you're describing now for Gather and Heal, it's like the village. Beautiful about it is like being able to speak to all these pieces, but at the same time, we understand that this is the human experience, right? Which is connected to all these things and all these pieces, right? There's no separation. It's like you're having a human experience, and that human experience includes every area of your life because you're still the same common factor in all those areas.
Right.
So I love that the way you described that just now. Beautiful.
And to take it like another layer, our current human experience is, like it or not, because there are beautiful aspects and challenging aspects, our human experience has been impacted by the generations before us. Right? And so by us circling back and continuing to heal and say, no, I'm not going to do this way. I'm going to amplify this way, so on and so forth. Well, I'm looking out for our future generations.
Yes. No, yes. And that's the whole point, right? It's like paying it forward, right? Because we're fortunate enough to be where by the way, I'm lighting some Palo Santo because I've been already in that vibe, but now you're putting me more in that vibe. And so I was already in that vibe, but now I'm really more in that vibe. So,
I'm about to grab mine.
but like when we think about like where our ancestors and our elders come from, I mean, considering the historical context of where we live, they had it way worse than we did, right? So, but the fact that we're here is them paying it forward to us. So now our obligation, and not even an obligation, but I think it's like a divine sort of natural, sort of organic process. We pay it forward as well, right? Because we think about the children, we think about whether it's our children, like our physical children, the people we mentor out in the streets. We think about our cousins, whomever it might be, right? Our nieces, our nephews. And so just the way we show up allows them to see what's possible for themselves. So it's beautiful the way you just described it. I love it. I just love it. I do. I'm going to get a mug. So now I know that we both know that this conversation is centered around white supremacy and the way it shows up in the mental health field. So I wanted you, in your own words, right? There's no right or wrong answer, to define or describe how you see white supremacy. How does it show up for you? How would you describe it or define it?
How do I define it and describe it? White supremacy. White supremacy is this voice, this part that has way too loud of a volume that gets in the way of each of us showing up as our genuine selves. And I say it vaguely like that, but even still, I'm sure that the homies that are here listening and who will watch it later are nodding their heads because y'all get it. Y'all get it when, you're trying to go out for this job interview and you pause because you're like, oh, hold on, let me straighten my hair so that way they think I'm professional. Or that was me before I chopped it off. I was like, oh, I gotta flat iron my hair. I gotta go to the salon. Or, earrings too big or nails, and that this volume that would stifle me, would stifle how I wanted to show up, how I wanted to learn and express myself. And that is the disrespectful power of white supremacy and its way that it comes into our lives in so many different ways, in so many different pockets. But at the foundation, it is muting how we as Black and brown people show up earth side and show up for ourselves and show up for others. Well,
That's right.
I'm here. We about to all turn down the damn volume on that. Okay, turn that shit down, and let's make some noise.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's make some noise. Let's show up, and because they're scared. That's why they try to make the volume really loud. They can't do that though. They cannot. And the more that we lean into who we are, and the more that we show up, and we're like, what? I'm gonna do this my way. I'm going to do this to my hair. I'm going to say and speak the way that I want to. And if you like it, cool. And if you don't, peace.
Deuces.
I'm good with that. There's no sweat off my back with that one.
You know, when I hear you sort of describe it the way you just did, it's just like a blatant erasure of us, right? Like just to sort of pick us apart piece by piece to such a point where we disappear. Right? We're not even here anymore. Right? And I think about it as the ultimate mind fuck, right? Because a lot of us really buy into that, right? We shrink, right, when we go into spaces that are predominantly white, right? We're not able to, because there's a training, a conditioning inside of us, right? Like, and so it's like when you talk about the generational stuff, like it's so embedded into our DNA that it becomes like automatic. Like we know how to shrink, right? And I when I was hearing the way you described it, I can see the erasure, right? How we have to switch everything up to sort of assimilate into this white standard that doesn't define who we are. And so that's what I was hearing. I just like to always throw it back, feedback I think is important, that we sort of expand on how you see it, because obviously it's your voice. And so when you're thinking about that, right, and we're thinking about you being a mental health professional in the mental health field, can you sort of name 3 ways that white supremacy has showed up in the mental health field based on your experience and what you've witnessed? Right. And then after you and you're going to name them briefly, you don't have to go into any of them, but just briefly so that the people who are listening, who listen later, they can get a sense of what we see on the inside, right? Because if they're not on the inside, they don't know what's really going on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I think about other spaces, professional spaces, like the medical industry or the medical field. I think about the justice system and all these other systems and industries that we're not part of. But a lot of grimy stuff happens in there, but we never would have known. Like, I can't imagine what's happening in ShopRite. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, who knows what's happening, like how the plantation works at ShopRite. And so, no shade to ShopRite. Shout out to ShopRite because I love ShopRite. But no, the real deal is that it doesn't matter where you go, right? It shows up, right? And so it's important for us to get the inside perspective because we're the insiders. We're in it. So just share what you've seen, like 3 mini examples, brief examples.
Brief, he says. Okay, I got you.
No, because I want you to expand on 1, but I want you to share 3 brief and then pull 1 out of that one that we could expand on.
I think I got it. So the first one that comes to mind is when I think about gatekeeping and the number of ways that shows up. All right.
You just triggered me.
See? That's how many times it shows up. That's how deep it shows up.
Ooh, damn. I'm listening.
And how sometimes we don't even... That should be sneaky. It's like a sneak attack sometimes where I pause and I look back and I was like, wait a minute. That really was gatekeeping and I did not catch it in that moment. Now, that's also my own growth and introspection and so on and so forth. But when I think about the gatekeeping for us to get our licenses, which are 2, so I got to do it once and then I got to come through, spend a whole bunch of money, do it again. And then I got to keep paying y'all to renew it. There's that piece. Yeah. There's also the piece around when we go to renew it, we have to have taken ongoing classes and courses, right, for our continuing education. Cool. I'm not mad at that. But what I am mad at is the fact that when I still look around at the number of CEs and presentations that are being provided or conferences, that is still predominantly whitewashed. And I'm still mad at that. I'm also mad at how many Black and brown clinicians, when we do provide trainings and such, we dip the hell out of the pricing. Don't do that. Your knowledge and your experience is worth usually double, triple, quadruple, whatever it is that you're charging. Okay?
Yup.
Our white counterparts out here charging, I just saw a training come through, $3,000. Okay. $3K. So that's that volume in white supremacy that has erased our confidence in saying, I can do that. I can teach that way better than that other person can too. So there's two. My last one.
But what can I just want to, I want to, and I know I said brief, but there's something, because obviously the gatekeeping thing really triggered me because I see it everywhere. But it's also connected to this one when we talk, because it feels like the skill set, right? What we bring as Black and brown folk into the space, like we sort of automatically diminish the skill set that we think we're bringing or what we're providing, right? Meanwhile, right? Listen, the gatekeepers have way less skill sets than we do. They're not as even closely advanced to what we can provide. Right? Because remember, they always say you got to do extra hard. You got to try extra hard and do extra work and do the extra. And so you know what happens? We do that.
We do it.
But you know what it does though? It sharpens our skill set. Because we don't have the, you know, this. We don't have this, right? Where we can be like, my whiteness is a commodity because clearly we don't look white, right? We don't look white. And so we can't lean on that. So we have to lean on this sort of advanced skill set that we develop because we're constantly in a position of having to prove ourselves. And so to me, that's even though it feels like an injustice, it's actually a plus for us. However, we don't get the credit we deserve for the way we contribute to the mental health field. You know what I'm saying?
I know. I hear
that
you.
That pisses me off.
I feel that.
Pisses me off. Anyway, I had to step in there because I feel like so many of us deal with that. We bring so much to the table and it's used and abused and exploited, but we're never given the props that we deserve. You know what I'm saying? And then our white counterparts are sort of going up the ladder, whack ass fuck. You know what I'm saying? Whack ass fuck, not even providing what we could provide. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, rant over. See, you messing with me today, Vanessa. I don't usually get this heated in my lives, but I'm feeling it today.
I feel it. It needed to be said.
It needed to be said. Absolutely.
So true. And the third one I was thinking about is what I remind my clients of a lot. So people like to give me slack because I don't accept insurance at my practice. Fine. But let me tell you why. And the same thing I say to my clients, and I told my clients when I came off of insurance panels, I said, that is forcing me to work under the medical industrial complex via the insurance that wasn't built for us. How am I supposed to work this magic and hold beautiful space for you when I'm out here thinking about, okay, what's the timestamp? Oh, wait, how do I write this so that the insurance doesn't reject it and send it back?
Yes.
Come on. I just want to be here with you as my client and like dive into whatever it is that you need at this time and not have to focus on this treatment plan because the insurance company needs one.
Jesus Lord.
See, y'all, the chat's on fire. Yes.
Right? Because it's true. You really are speaking that truth.
It's not right.
And that's, and when we think about the medical model, right, which is what we are forced to follow, right, it doesn't work for our community. It just doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then we wonder why we're not advancing the way we could be, right, as when it comes to our mental health, because look at where we go for services to get more harmed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Woo!
Oh,
yes, and not for much money. They are, right? So then we could go the other layer. I'm at a 3.1 to this one. The insurance companies are so disrespectful to therapists. When I get the chart that shows me the numbers, I'm like, why are we at the bottom of this totem pole? Do you know how valuable, do you know how important that we are? Clearly they don't. But I know my value. I know what I bring to this table. I know what you bring to the table, right? The ease, the moment that our clients step through the door, or our virtual door, and they're like,
for now.
they're like, yes.
That's right.
I don't have to code switch. I don't have to explain to you what I mean about a particular TV show episode because I know you saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole other layer of connection that really makes our sessions so rich. It really makes our work so beautiful. You know, I'm so honored to be in this space that I share with people. And I tell my clients all the time, like, yo, I appreciate you. They're like, nah, Vanessa, I appreciate you. I'm like, nah, I appreciate you.
I hear you. No, it's true. It's real true. It's real true. It's like it gives you life. But it's so funny in this process of giving your each other, right? Because it's a give and take sort of process, our community life. There's this thing like that insurance, right? That when you think about insurance and how that sort of seeps into our minds as we're doing our work. It's like this little thing in the background, like haunting us. And so, yeah, like the three examples you named. See, first of all, like the three examples you named were like beefs I have as well. Right. And I feel like most of us have them. Right. I think the majority of Black and brown folk have them, mental health practitioners. So I can't imagine what you're going to expand on. Right. The one that you're going to, because I'm going to get more triggered because I just feel like you hitting all those. You're like, you know what I'm saying?
Spot on. That's
like,
right there.
So can you expand on one particular example and like really tell us, you know, when you share this example, what the impact was either on yourself, on your work, or on the clients?
Let's see. I'm going to expand on the last one, the medical industrial complex, right? Because that has such a huge ripple effect that it actually ties in the first two anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So back to why it's so important to me to hold space for MSW interns, Black and brown women.
Mm-hmm.
That's so important to me because I also know the harm that can be done when we only have white supervisors. And we have white supervisors while we're trying to support our communities. That's a huge learning and that's a huge disconnect. And then when you add in that layer of if I'm working at a community clinic and we're under the insurance and my supervisor has like this strong focus on the time and the diagnoses and all of these ripple effects.
Lord Jesus.
The diagnoses.
Ugh.
My clients know how I feel about that one too.
Where's my DSM? I'm gonna go start a fire with it.
Listen,
backyard.
Let me come through. Come through. I got two of them. We're gonna burn both.
I want to go turn on my fire pit.
Come on, because it's ridiculous. And and deep down, a lot of people know that because that's why there's been new iterations of it. That's why we're on the DSM-5, and that's why things that were considered a medical diagnosis have been removed, and there are still more that need to come out that book. But the impact that it's having on our community in having so many people just throwing out these diagnoses in order for this therapist to get paid because the insurance says that they need this ties back to the medical industrial complex that wasn't meant for us. And like you said, I'm coming forward thinking I'm going to get some help and I'm going to do my healing. And yet, more often than not, there's so much more harm being done.
Yes.
White saviorism in those spaces. It's exhausting. Oh, don't even get me started on that one. Listen.
All day long. All day. Here they come swooping up on their angel wings to come save us.
Yeah.
Hello, you're the one that harmed me in the first place. Like,
right.
stay away, bro. Like,
leave me be. Shoot.
Like, give me. Real talk.
But then, you know, as I have conversations with my interns, it saddens me to hear some of the things that they say, but then it also, you know, makes my heart burst and makes me even more passionate about holding space when they say things like, oh my goodness, Vanessa, I've never heard it explained that way. I haven't heard, you know, this diagnosis really flipped around and explained from a perspective of our clients and our communities. That's powerful.
Powerful.
Because when we are in school, we're learning from these a whole other system that's challenging and pretty fucked. We're learning in that system, and then we're sent off into the world to continue working under the medical industrial complex, under the criminal justice system and the legal system, and so on and so forth. So if we can hold space and I can challenge and change the perspectives and minds of even just 2 or 3 MSW interns, then I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it with all the fuel and passion that I can.
That's right.
Because we don't need to be quiet when we're entering these rooms and advocating for our clients. We don't need to be quiet when we're entering interviews in other rooms, and we need to show up for ourselves.
That's right. That's right.
Like you said, we got a whole lot of experience. Some of it you can see in my resume. Some of it you cannot.
That's right.
It's there.
That's right. Yo, you know, I'm thinking about the interns and the importance of the future social workers, right? And you know what's so important about the work you're doing is that I know for sure no one prepared me for what I was going to deal with when I entered the mental health field, right? No one. I just thought if I got my degree, you know, I did all the right steps to get the stupid MSW, and I went out into the field to do the work that I came to do, that I would thrive. But I experienced so many barriers just because of white supremacy, right? And no one prepared me for that. And so the fact that you have this commitment to the interns is powerful, because they need to be prepared for the real world. Because, you know, our universities, even though you can also experience white supremacy in those spaces, it's a lot safer than the real world. Because the real world, they will eat you up. Even in social work, even in the mental health, it don't matter where you go.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so that's powerful that you want to really prepare the interns for what's going to come in the future, because they need that. They need to know what's up. You know what I'm saying? They need to know what's up.
Options.
Yeah.
Like, know your options. Know that you can come out of school and you don't have to go straight into a fellowship or something like that and be significantly underpaid. You don't have to go directly into, I don't know, like a community health center if that's not what you want to do. There are so many paths, but there are very specific paths that we hear a lot about. Right. And then when we're not thinking about that path, we start to question, oh, hold on, am I not doing this right? I remember that feeling. I was going into my 2nd year and we were picking out internships, and my advisor at the time was like, yeah, you know, the hospitals, they fill up really quickly, and we've got a whole bunch of students that are going that direction. Hospitals never crossed my mind. Right? Like, not one easy teensy little bit, nada. And but then I stepped back and I was like, yo, am I supposed to go to a hospital? Am I missing out on something in that experience? Is it going to set me back? Like, all these things. So I'm here to remind the interns and any of y'all who are working on your MSW or you're new to the career, challenge it. Step into, what is it that I want to do? Do I want to do something different and I can't find it? Bet. Find you a supervisor so you can still do what you want to do and do it. Start your own company and do it. Get supervision, get support. But you don't have to go work for somebody else right away. Our white counterparts know that. Our white counterparts know
Can you imagine?
Go straight into private practice if they want to.
Nobody ever told me that. Ever. And I'm over here paying my dues in these streets, going through a lot of different experiences that, but you know what? I'm not going to even complain, because I really am grateful for all my experiences, because it got me to where I'm at today. But like, no one tells us what our options are. I mean, they really don't. So I'm glad that somebody is. Now, so when you think about, I'm curious to find out, like, as a mental health professional, and I know we sort of, you know, touched on it briefly, but how does it impact you? Like, when you know that this stuff is going, how does it impact you? Like, as you are aware of these things happening in our field?
I'm a visual person. So it like literally makes my heart burst with a passionate fire to say, no, this ain't it. Help myself discover what might be, and anything in between, right? Because we don't live in black and white. There's that gray space, y'all.
Yeah.
All of the things in between.
Mm-hmm.
And I go with it, right?
Uh-huh.
I go with it. It didn't sit well with me that there aren't enough black and brown clinicians to support our community. I recognize I am but one body. So I'm like, all right, y'all, how can we make this bigger? How can we support each other?
Right.
And you create it.
That's right. So it sort of
It
motivates you then.
Yeah.
This is what, okay, got it.
That fire and that passion says, okay, this ain't it. I tap into my self energy and I say, how can we get creative? What do we need? Not just me. When I say we, I'm talking about the collective. All of us.
That's right. That's so right.
Present and going forward.
Yes.
What do we need?
That's right. You know, it's so funny that you say this, because when I think about, I feel like there's so many of us that have beef with our various sort of intersecting factors of the mental health field, whether it's psychiatry, psychology, social work, and so on and so forth. Like, so many of us have beef with these spaces or these organizations that represent us, like, for example, the NASW. But I feel like it almost feels like we have to like come to a conclusion around this. Like, maybe we need to create our own. I mean, I think that's what we're doing, like the Liberated Self, you know, Gather and Heal. Like, it's because we have to. Like, there's no other option. There's no way around it. Like, enough with the DEI bullshit, right? Like, let's do a training to have our counterparts who are other mental health professionals and therapists learn how to practice being empathetic towards us. That's what DEI is for. That's all it is. There's nothing else around it, right? So I feel like my conclusion in my brain is that we need to create our own systems, right? We need to, like, there's no other way around it. If we continue to depend on and lean on these systems that feel oppressive to a lot of us, and then obviously trickles down to our clients, we're not being part of the solution, right? We just keep hitting a brick wall. You feel what I'm saying?
I do.
Yo, like, we really need to like build something of our own that really matches our own values, right? And where we could come together collectively and then heal our community in a collective way, right? And so I heard that when I was like listening to you, when you talked about how it motivated you. That's what we need, right? As a collective, like, to be motivated to create our own. And I don't even know what that looks like, but I definitely know it don't look like what we already got.
Exactly. I know this ain't it.
This ain't it.
What else? And can I say that for a while, there was a part of me that was saying, I'm just going to let my license lapse. I'm not going to do this anymore. I feel sometimes
You're such a rebel. I love it.
That is very spot on. But I was just like, this ain't it. Here I am trying to stuff myself into this box because, like I said, I put a lot of time, money, and effort into getting this degree and these licenses, but it still isn't hitting. It's still not letting me do the damn thing and show up for us the way that I know. And at least I know where to start, and then everybody else can come through and we co-create. And it wasn't landing well. And I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to let it lapse. And I'm going to be a coach. Everybody's a coach nowadays. That's not that regulated. We'll be fine. But then, right?
Yes.
So then that was my frustration. That was my sadness. But then it turned into that heart bursting with fire and passion. And I said, you know what? No. We're going to keep this license. And that's when I really dove into making connections with different schools and saying, I'm here. This is the work that we do. This is the population we support. And these are the interns that I want.
Nice.
And that's how we're shaking it up. And that's how we're going to change the field.
Beautiful. I love that. I fucking love that. Okay. So, I knew I was thinking your vibe. I knew it. I was like, I knew it. Like you got me like simmering over here, right?
Yeah.
So when you think about, so I would like you to share with us a time that you addressed or challenged white supremacy in the field, like in the kind of feedback, or if you got backlash for that. If you can share an experience that you had with sort of challenging it and like actively challenging it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do one where I actually got some positive feedback.
Okay.
So when I was reaching out to different schools and saying like, hey, we out here, I want some Black and brown MSW students. They deserve supervisors that look like them, so on and so forth. This is the premise of both of my companies, and these are the experiences that they'll get, right? Because there's also, it's important to me to make sure that we get macro and clinical and do both, okay?
Right.
So more often than not, when I'm having this conversation and I'm sharing it, there were parts of me that were getting a little freaked out, because I was being very honest. And I said, this is who I am. These are the companies, and these are the students that I want. I want them to pay for, and I want them to thrive in a way that they can't in other places. And the white field advisors that I was having these conversations with, there's always like that pause that to me feels like, bitch, did she say that to us?
Like what? Like what? Like what would you say? Like what? Can you like give us a specific something?
Where I say, I'm here to amplify the voices of Black and brown women of the diaspora. And there are a lot of opportunities for non-Black and brown students to have supervisors that look like them. And we deserve to have supervisors that look like us. And not that I'm saying white interns can't come through and learn a whole lot, but I am going to prioritize the Black and brown students. Who says that when you're trying to get in with a system or get in with an agency? Well, I said it, and I was like, I'm not going to be apologetic about it.
Nice. That's like making a radical statement as you sort of try to introduce yourself into this space. You're like, already, I'm coming in, but I'm coming in inside of my truth, right? Like I know that there's a specific reason why I'm here. And so and I think that's beautiful. I mean, and so even though you can see like their faces looking at you, man, funny, like giving you the side eye, it sounds like at least the response was positive based on what you shared earlier, right?
Yeah.
They like open.
They loved it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about two of the conversations in particular, and they were with it. They were like, oh my goodness, you're right. And I like how you say this, and I like how you're centering this. And I'm like, good, because I wasn't going to change anything.
No.
This is what it is.
That's right.
And I think because I came into each of those spaces the way that I did, they have also been sending me, the dopest interns.
Nice.
And the dopest interns to interview for next year and such. Nice. I'm like, what I said, it landed with you and it resonated.
That's right.
And you needed to hear it.
That's right.
So I don't minimize that, because that is like a subtle wave. But it's an important wave, and it has huge ripple effects.
Absolutely.
For the years to come.
Because you're now, because the interns that you get, right, you've obviously created a new opportunity for whatever this institution is, right? And so, and maybe the interns would not have had that possibility, right? The opportunity to meet with somebody, and not just that you have to be Black or brown, is that you have to have a commitment to Black and brown people, right? Because there's a whole bunch of us that look like this, right? And they're just agents for white supremacy, right? So it don't really matter. Even though we look the part, it don't really mean that we really about that life. You know what I'm saying? And so what's important is not only did you show up, right, inside of your truth and your identity, but you give a shit about Black and brown folk, right? And that's the commitment. That's what makes the difference. That's the thing. And then you talk about the ripple effect. The butterfly effect is real, because they're gonna remember that, and then they might pass it, pay it forward as well, right? So that's dope. Like you created that opportunity. You created a solution because you saw that there was something missing in that space. And so you became the solution.
Absolutely.
Which is what I think with, you know, when you think about like social workers and or do I really want to say so? Like, I don't want to pigeonhole us because we are social workers by training, but we're more than that, right? There's something about this work that is not about social work. It just happens to be that we in the society that we're in. So we had a sort of fit what matched our truth, our calling, right? Which speaks to our hearts. And so I forgot what I was going to say. You know what? But I was just moved by the fact that you became the solution.
That's what we got to do. And that's part of what we're saying, right? That's the stuff that we figure it out. It's going to come together. We're going to figure this out one way or another. And that's the piece that you don't get to see on our resumes. That's the stuff that doesn't get taught in the classroom.
That's right.
But that's a huge skill. And it's a huge, I always say to people, I'm like, listen, you could be an amazing writer. You can, you know, have good communication skills, so on and so forth. But if you don't have the passion to go behind it, nobody's going to read your book. Nobody's going to want to listen to your presentation, right? And so when I'm interviewing people, interns and staff, I start off with, I'm big on energy. So you're not going to see me reading questions off of a piece of paper. You're not going to see me typing down my notes or anything like that. I want to see how we vibe. I want our souls to connect and let them figure things out on other levels. And then we in our human bodies are going to flow with the passion and the drive to learn.
Yes. And also contribute to our communities, right?
That's
Which is really the premise of it all. And so, you know, I have a final sort of question. And I would want you to sort of, not ask because I'm asking, but I would want you to sort of, by the way, can you give me a time check? Because I'm like into this conversation.
We got 2 minutes to 8 o'clock.
Oh, no. All right.
That's what I said.
The final question is, okay, when you think about white supremacy in the mental health field, and I feel like you answered this, but I want to know if there's another answer you have, right? Mm-hmm. How would you, what would be a solution? What's a solution that you can think of as, you know, as we sort of involve ourselves in engaging with the mental health field? What's a possible solution? Even though I feel like you already gave a solution, but like if there's something else, some other sort of, some nuggets, some wisdom nuggets.
Wisdom nuggets. So for me, it really comes back to our self-energy and turning down the volume on that white supremacy that comes up in how we dress ourselves each day, how we take up a lot of space or shrink when we're in certain spaces. That part, that we turn that volume down and we recenter into ourselves, because from that we're going to connect with the dope people that we need to connect to, right? Mm-hmm. That's how we connected. That's how my self energy said to your self energy, yo, what's up, bro?
Yo.
And that's when they should get scared, because our self energy is connecting. The people who are here listening and will watch in the future, we're all connecting. We're all making notes of these names and these faces. And it's like, yo, when we about to build our own shit, these are the homies that's going to be there.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's our solution. But it has to start within our confidence, within our self-energy, and saying, I'm dope. Mm-hmm. I know what I need to do to show up and move through this world day in and day out in a way that lands well with me and my collective. And this is what we got to do to come together, so that way it's easier for our generations after.
Yeah. Now, you know, I know this, I'm not supposed to ask another question, but I really want to unpack. So for the people, because, you know, we are therapists and we probably did a lot of work. And I know I've done work. I'm sure you've done work on yourself. Mm-hmm. So our level of emotional intelligence is different. It's more advanced than, say, the average person. But, like, you know, the average person that might be listening to this, who maybe didn't do a lot of work, who is not really self-reflective, or maybe they want to find out about therapy and what that might be like. When you say turn the volume down, can you sort of, can you make that for the average person? I don't want to like diminish the average person. I just mean that I understand what our skill set is, right? So not everyone has a skill set. So How does it look in a practical way to turn that volume down? The white supremacist voice.
So let's go with the example of appearance, right? So turning that volume down for myself throughout the years has been doing whatever the fuck I want to do with my hair. I've had it relaxed. I've had it curly. I've had it, flat iron straight. I've had it done with the blow dryer. I've had locks. I've had half my head shaved. I've had just the bottom shaved. I have blue hair. You know what I mean? Like, that was me turning down the volume on white supremacy. That was trying to put me into a box around what I should look like, how I should speak, how I should interact with people in certain settings.
Right.
Those are all messages from white supremacy. And I knew that it didn't land well with me because I've always been bursting at the seams for something different, something creative. But I kept trying to put myself back in this damn box that was like, straighten your hair, keep it long, don't get your nose pierced, don't get too many ear piercings, so on and so forth. So I turned down the volume little by little over the years. And I continued to show up and listen to what I wanted.
Right. So it was like the small little tiny steps of being authentic. Got it. Me. Yes, to you. Because everybody else is authentic in their own way. So just sort of following a little, just take a little piece today, a little piece, right? And then before you know it, you're like the most authentic version of yourself you possibly could be, right? So just small little steps is what makes the difference.
Yep. And the more that you keep showing up as your authentic self, the volume of yourself is being turned up while the volume of that white supremacy is coming down.
Right. Yes.
And the last thing I'll say about that I like to explain to people is that if you have a voice in your head that's like, you shouldn't do that, then I'm gonna need you to wait and ask that voice, who says who? Where am I getting this voice from? Who told me this message? And if the core of that message isn't you, then turn that volume down.
That's right.
And ask yourself, what do I want?
That's right. That's a great send off. That's it. That was amazing. I feel like we're the drink champs, even though I'm not drinking, but I have water. But it feels like a drink champ moment for me. Like what? There's no audience, but you gotta get the applause, right? Like Nori does. Beautiful. Well, Vanessa, we're coming. I like to make sure that I honor people's time. And so it's 8:04 now. We're a few minutes over, but I just really want to thank you for like joining this live. I know like you don't know me and this is the first time we're meeting, but the fact that you trusted me enough to show up anyway to this space, really, I appreciate that because it shows me that your vibe, we do have similar vibes, and I appreciate that even more. So thank you for joining us.
I appreciate you.
I really appreciate you too. For those of you who are interested, I have the initiative Freedom Fighters of the Minds. This is for therapists, mental health professionals. Freedom Fighters of the Minds is an initiative for mental health professionals and therapists of Black and Brown descent, where we meet together in a group each month. It's a free initiative. And if you are interested in that, you can reach me at Antonio@theliberatedself.org or through Instagram in a DM. Would you like to say anything before so we can end this? I would like to give you the last word, and then I will find a way to shut it off because I always forget how to shut it off.
And cross your fingers that Instagram doesn't, delete it, man. Listen.
Instagram, don't play with me, Instagram. All right.
Nah, I really appreciate you reaching out and listening to our live and then sending that DM. And I mean, the moment, I shit you not, the moment I read your message and we started going back and forth, I was like, yes, I'm going to sign up. Yes, I'm going to come through because like I said, the fuel and the passion, you are the solution in one way, I'm the solution in another way. And when we come together and we continue to bring more of us together, watch out now.
That's right. The revolution, I always say the revolution is not going to be televised. It's going to be internalized.
Woo!
Hello. Well, thank you so much. Mad love to you, and I hope like the weather's getting nice, and it's time for the music to come out, the bachata, the salsa, and so on and so forth.
You already know.
Take care of yourself, okay?
Please.
And thank you everybody who showed up and listened to this wonderful live. I appreciate it. Peace. Let me see how I shut it off now.